Dr. Oluwakemi Rotimi is a senior lecturer in the Department of Biochemistry at Covenant University, Nigeria, where she leads research on the impact of environmental toxicants on health outcomes in African populations. She is currently a principal investigator of an NIH Emerging Global Leader Award, which supports her work on early life aflatoxin B1 exposure and its epigenetic effect on tumor suppressor genes of Nigerian newborns. Dr. Oluwakemi Rotimi is a member of several academic societies and an alumna of the University of Michigan African Presidential Scholar Program. She is actively involved in mentoring undergraduate and postgraduate students. Ladies and gentlemen, with all your emojis in the chat box, join me as we welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Oluwakemi Rotimi.
First of all, I would like to thank the founder of the We Inspire Growth Academy. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak on this topic. It's such an honor, and I do not take it for granted. Thank you so much. Dr. T, as you are, as you are usually called in the academy. So I would go straight to the talk. I've been asked to talk about becoming the student of your life and built to learn how we can achieve success, not just in academics, but, in all aspects of our lives, right? So a little bit about me. So I wouldn't be, my bio has already been read, and so I wouldn't be repeating the bio. I just want to say a little bit about myself and my journey. I'll be sharing some experiences as we go ahead. And I would like to say that a product of learning, right? A few years ago, after I just finished in the secondary school, right? I I just finished and I had to take some exam again, I think JAM, yeah. And after I'd done that, I uh there was a period where, I wasn't really doing, I was just waiting for admission. And thanks to my dad, he had this mini library shelf, and because I didn't have much to do, I took to books and read some books. I really can't remember, the names of all the books, but I remember that I read something about Thinking Big by Zig Ziglar. I read An Enemy Called Average. I think I read Eat That Frog. And, that period I just read and read and read. And something changed, in me. And I didn't just want to be that. Now, this was me in secondary school. I was just that average student doing my thing, just, winging it. But something actually changed in that period. And this was me going into the university. I felt, no, if I'm going to do anything, I just have to give it my best. If I'm going to do anything, I just want to be outstanding in it just because of those books I read in that period. And I went from this average student in the university to this average student in secondary school to this person in the university that was, topping our class and doing all that. And reflecting, I think there was this mindset shift. When I look at that, there might be, other factors. Some might want to say, oh, maybe I became more mature and, and things like that. But I think those books I read in that period changed something in me, and I just wanted to always give my best in everything I do. And when I graduated in the university, of course, before I graduated, I saw that, oh, we didn't do so much research and, experiments in lab, but the little we did, I saw that I was interested in it. I wanted to go into that area. And then as soon as I finished with my NYSC, I went on for my master's, and then I went for my PhD. And along the line, before the end of my PhD, I started working in Covenant. And over the years, the tests, for more, to learn more, has always, been there for me there. And then I found it taking me to different, parts uh of the world, if I could say so. So let's move on to the topic of today. I'll be talking more about my journey as we go ahead. Why learning? Why are we talking about learning? Why is it important? So one thing I want us to note is that our future is in our learning. Yeah, I heard the Chancellor of Covenant University, Bishop David Oyedepo, say that. And if you look at the story I shared in the beginning, because of something I'd learned in the past, it changed my future. So our future is in our learning. So I wanted you to take about 10 seconds, think about the future you desire right now, maybe in 2 years, in 5 years. Think about it, write it down, and then let's ask ourselves, what do you want to learn now that would change the narrative for you in the future? You want to ask yourself. So something you want to ask yourself. I'm not, don't put it in the chat or answer me, right? Just ask yourself and put that, what do you want to learn now? What is that thing you want to do differently that will change the future for you? Secondly, we live in an evolving world. You know, I feel like the world is changing every minute. New things are coming in, new information. There's so much information, everywhere. You could get maybe, I don't know if we still have those that are maybe just in the university now. Some things you are learning now, by the time you get out there, things have changed. You're trying to catch up to do some other things, learn some other areas. So we live in an evolving world. And if you are just there and feel like, oh, some people, I heard some people saying, oh, after, yeah, when I just graduate, I'm free. No more reading, no more that. No. You're not free. You just have to keep doing that. And there, actually there's people like that, since you graduated, you've not finished the book. That's not really okay. We are in an evolving world. It's really changing. And your ability to be able to adapt and just move will actually differentiate you. And so one thing I want us to go on as we to take along with us as we finish, end this talk, is that I want us to have the mindset of a lifelong learner. Have the mindset of a lifelong learner. We just have to keep learning, and if you agree with me, put in the chats, I am a lifelong learner, tell yourself, I am a lifelong learner. Say it to yourself. And when it comes to learning and lifelong learning, one of the things that might want to hold you back will be ego, right? You've gotten to a level, maybe there are people there, you've gotten to a level where you feel like, oh, I have that MBA, I have that MPH, I have that PhD, right? I don't need to learn. What do you want to teach me? What does anyone want to tell me how to do? No, that shouldn't be our mindset. We need to have a mindset of a lifelong learner. Let's stay humble, and learn what we need to learn that will change our future for better. And then being a student of your life, what does it actually mean? Right? I put down some things here. Of course, it's more than this, but one major thing is being responsible, for your life and taking ownership. That responsibility is actually, very, very important. As a young person, as a young adult, the earlier you agree that you are responsible for, the outcome of your life, the better it is for you. The earlier, the better you begin to actually make things happen and succeed. If you are still stuck there giving excuses and, doing the blame game and saying, oh, if my parents had sent me to a private university, I would have spent 7 years instead of 4 years, and then I would have qualified for that job and they won't have used age to cut me out, and things like that. That has happened. Fine. What do you want to start doing from this time forward? What do you want to change? I remember when I graduated when I finished my undergraduate study, I already said, oh, I was interested in research, and I said, oh, I wanted to uh go for my PhD abroad, right? So I told my dad, oh, I need to take this exam, I need to take GRE, I need to take this, I need so and so dollars. And he told me, oh, there was he just told me some things, and uh he didn't give me the money. He was like, oh, first do this and that, and I just took it. So years later, I was telling somebody, then I said, oh, if my dad had, given me that money and written that exam, maybe I'll be in the US now, I'll be doing better, I'll be this and that. And then I asked myself, I went for an NYC. They paid me for 1 year. Why didn't I save the money and pay for my GRE myself? Why didn't I probably sell something during that time, make the money, and pay for my GRE myself? So it just shows that I didn't want it so much, right? If you want something so much, you will find a way. You will take responsibility. But if you don't really want it, you will find an excuse. So I asked myself, why didn't I do that? Just probably I didn't, want it enough. And I just gave excuses like, oh, my dad didn't give me the money for the exam, and things like that. So that's not it. We need to, take responsibility and own it. And then, of course, we need to stay curious and open-minded. I've said that, earlier. Be open-minded, be open to learning new things, and then learn from your experiences. Our experiences, the things we go through in life happen for a reason. Let's learn from them and then use them, you know, later. And then the last thing about being a student of your life is being intentional about your learning and your growth. So, someone was saying intentional is now like a buzzword. Everybody's just saying intentional, intentional. But the truth is, consciously design your learning and your growth, because whether you like it or not, you are learning something. So if you don't plan, you are learning something, your brain is taking something from your environment, from where you are, and things like that. So if you're not doing it consciously, you are doing it unconsciously. So why not be deliberate about it? And that's why the environment, we're in is very, very important. The environment we find ourselves in. Now, I'm not talking about where you live or where you stay. I'm talking about even communities. Even these days, sometimes we spend more time online than, offline. It could be those Facebook groups, it could be those WhatsApp groups. What are the things they're saying there? So we need to very, very deliberate about that. This is, of course, we have the Inspire Growth community where it's all about growth, owning your journey and things like that. We need to stay put in communities like this that would impact us positively. And then, of course, when it comes to learning, we're learning from books, we're learning from mentors, those that have gone, ahead of us. And when it comes to mentors, I just want to say that it's not, so many times we look at so many people up there and we're like, oh, I want this person to be my mentor. If I can just see this person. If you can't see the person for now, does the person have books? Is the person talking somewhere? Does the person have YouTube videos? How many have watched? How many have you? So it's not until you see that person and you are beside that person. Life has, moved on. You could read the person's books. You could, without even seeing the person. I mentioned some books that I have never met them, right? So we could, learn through these ways. And then I put the scripture here because it says, paraphrase, whatever, we're doing, is what's doing well. And yeah, I want to talk about school. We're talking about academics and things like that. We live in a world now where people are saying, oh, like Dr. T said at the beginning, some people feel school is a cage. Some even say school is a scam. School na scam, something that we see around these days. And I want to say here that school is not a scam. Is not a scam. Probably you do not actually understand you know, the purpose and what it was created for. You know, you go into a place at the beginning, you go through a process, you go through a structured thing. And if you really, you know, you're open-minded and things like that, there are actually skills that you can build by going through uh school. You try to build your time management, you know, you build your interpersonal skills, you build your, you know, the ability to work in a team, you know, and things like that. So please, school is not scam. If you are listening to me right now and you're in school, please take it seriously. Take it seriously. Whatsoever, you know, your hand find it to do, do it well. This is what you are doing right now. This is your whatsoever right now. School is your whatsoever right now. You are a student, right? A student studies. So please take it seriously, study. And much more than studying, please try to build skills. Try to build skills. The truth is that some of the courses we take, you know, they are structured in such a way that they make us, you know, you want think critically, think creatively, you know, and think yourself. It is not just, oh, let me just pass that exam. When it's 1 week to the exam, let me just go and read. Open up yourself to go through the process. Take the assignments, do the readings. You know, they are all very, very important. And then also, while in school, I said your main purpose for being in school is so take that seriously. You can also do other things, build relationships. Some people build very good relationships, you know, from school, you know, to build very good and positive relationships. And when you're also in school, is an opportunity to nurture your talents, to do that, nurture your talents. There are some people that, you know, they were comedians in school, singers in school, and that's what they are doing till now. So for me, when I was in the university, so I was that triangular student, right? So now I would always, if I'm not in the hostel, I'm in the library. Maybe I'll go to church, you know, and things. I was just, you know, so serious and that key. So while it's good to be serious too, I would say engage in some other things, but of course not at the expense of your studies. You know, try to do some other things that are uh listed here. So it's something that if I could go back, I wouldn't just be just a library and class person. So, I put this here, right? I saw this on LinkedIn talking about they asked employers what are those skills they want people, you know, their employees to have in the next few years. And if you see, it's a bit tiny. I'm sorry, but if you see here, there's curiosity and lifelong learning. If you see some of course, AI and big data is stopped there. There's there's creative thinking, there's resilience, flexibility, agility, analytical thinking, leadership, and social influence. Now, if you look at these things, are they like courses or subjects that, you know, you would actually study in school? No, they are not. But somehow, you know, by um exposing yourself and opening up yourself to go through that process, you know, of schooling and, you know, taking some of these courses, you could build some of these skills. You know, you are in school, they're giving you a group work and you're just there, just let one person, you know, just do everything and things like that. You're not showing that, you know, you could contribute in a team and, you know, contribute your own quota. So if you look at this core skills, they're saying employers are saying they want people to have in the next few years. All these things, they're not like, oh, I'll go to school and go and study. Of course, you can probably study leadership. You can say, oh, I want to go and study curiosity and then lifelong learning. But somehow there are things we learn, you know, when we go through school. So, you know, we're talking about becoming and being the student of your life. So I want to say here that in being the student of your life, either you are in academics or otherwise, one of the first classes that you want to take is a class of self-awareness, right? How well do you know yourself? There's so many aspects of self-awareness. Of course, you want to know your strength, your weakness. Um, Emanuela was asking in the beginning, when do you like to do some brain work? And people were putting morning, night, and things like that. It's good. We know ourselves. But that's the first class you want to take in being a student of life. You want to know what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Right? We could go on and on to say what are your temperaments? What's your love language? What's your leadership style? What's your apology language? And there's so many things, but for the purpose of this presentation, I've just picked a few that I would like us to focus on. And the first, because we're talking about learning. So, of course, learning style. What's your learning style? How best do you assimilate information? How do you interact with information? How do you learn? And yeah, I've put four major parts, but if you go on Google now, you see it's actually more than four. It's been broken down into several aspects. And I like to say here that sometimes you're not just one, you could be two of it or even three, but there's usually a major one, like visual learner. A visual learner will, for example, prefer to look at graphs, to look at, drawings and things like that instead of over letters. An auditory learner, would prefer to listen to audiobooks than to read. I listen to audiobooks, but that's not my preferred uh that's not my preference, right? I prefer to read and write. I prefer to read and write. An auditory learner will be that student that will come to class and be recording the lecturer talking and then go and listen to it later. And that visual learner will be someone while you're reading, you're kind of trying to draw sketches of what you're reading, you're putting down mind maps and doing all that. And then uh so reading, so there's reading and writing. You read and then you write. So for me, when I read and I want to try to recall what I've read, I like to write. And then a kinesthetic learner likes to, do is hands-on. You want to use your hands, to do something, while you are learning. Sometimes I see my son when he's reading, his hands are just moving. He's doing some things with his hands, playing with his hands, and just he wants something to be in his hands and just doing it at a time. I'll be like, you're distracting yourself and maybe take it off. But later, I got to know that if he's working for him, then so you need to know your learning style, because when you know your learning style, it will be easy for you to learn. Don't forget, we mentioned earlier that we are in an ever-changing world. It's just the way things are, evolving. It's very, very fast. So you also need to be able to learn fast and catch up. So another thing I would want us to, of course, identify in our self-awareness is the energy cycle, energy management. We mentioned that, we talked about how our energy fluctuates during the day. Physical energy, emotional energy, mental energy. How does it, fluctuate during the day? And for us females, it might even be maybe during the month, sometime of the month, is it a good time for you to, do something? So when you are able to, when you know this, so I want to focus more on the mental energy, the cognitive abilities. When do you focus more? So, and then when you know this, you know what you are supposed to do at that point in time when your mental energy is up here, right? That's not the time when you want to do something that is you can easily do. You can, there are some things that you've done over and over again that you can easily do. So you don't do those things when your mental energy is very high. You do things that require deep work, things that, require a lot of focus and all that. So when you know your energy cycle, is easy for you to be able to manage it. And then another thing I want to talk about here is knowing the essential things, essentialism. I was saying earlier that if you're a student, you're in school, if you're a full-time student, you are there to, that's one of the essential things. That's what is essential to you at that point in time. So it's good for us to be able to discern, discover what are those vital few things. These days it's easy to just be everywhere. You want to do everything, but that's not possible. You're just dividing yourself in so many places. You will not achieve much. So pick at this time of your life where you are. What are those vital few things that you want to focus on? Even up to daily, what are the top things I want to do today? So it's very, very important because so when you discover those vital few things, you'll be able to eliminate those things that are not essential. Not that it's not that you say, okay, I'm not doing this again. No, archive it for next time. When you're done with this thing at this time in your life, you can then focus on those other things. So of course, and that will help you prioritize, right? And then when it comes to essentialism, I like to say, learn to say no, right? Learn to say no respectfully, of course. I'm not sure but we have this kind of culture where we don't want to say no. You're like, oh, the person will be annoyed, they won't like it, it won't be good, it won't be this. If it's not aligning or it will take you away from what is essential for you, please say no and say, oh, or can I do it for you, at some other time? Can I do the, and if it's something that won't come at another time, well, that's it. I remember, I think during my master's, we are going to have exams like on the 3rd, just immediately after New Year. I went home for Christmas, and immediately after Christmas, I went back to school. Between 31st and 1st, I was on my table reading, right? I'm a Christian, right? You're supposed to be in church, You want to go and say Happy New Year in church. Of course, at that time, I prayed, I, did all that stuff. But at that point in time, I just had to focus because I knew exams was in few days. And after that time, I've done a lot of 31st to 1st. And, maybe over how many years? Over 31st to 1st. But at that point in time, my parents are like, I want you be at home for New Year. I'm like, well, I won't be at home for this New Year. And nothing happened, So learn to say no just because you want to focus on what is essential to. And then the last thing I want to say is understand your environment. It's part of self-awareness. So apart from knowing yourself, also know your environment. Know if you're in a school, know what is required of you in that school, right? In the school where I am, you need 75% attendance to be able to write an exam. And it's funny that every year you will see students that will still not make that 75%. That is it that you didn't know or what? So understand your environment, know what works there. Probably exam takes the highest marks. In some other places, the exam is even the lowest mark. All the assignments and, presentations, work, things take the larger mark. So if you are there and you are saying, oh, I'm just waiting for exam, I'll just go and read, you've already started feeling. So understand your environment, understand your lecturers. You can, if you spent a year or two with the same lecturer, you should be able to understand what's the kind of answers, how the lecturer expects you to answer a question. That's part of being aware of your environment. And if you're working, know what your boss, what is required of you, what are those things that would make you succeed in that career, what are those things that you need for your promotion. So it's part of self-awareness. You're able to study your environment and know what is actually required there. And I just want to give this example. I heard of person was here, of course, a PhD person, and the person went, not a student now, someone that's had the PhD and things like that, went over to the US and to learn, of course. And of course, in the US, and that everybody calls their name selves by the first name. And they were calling this person by the first, and the person was insisting that please call me doctor, this. You're not being aware of your environment. You're not. This is, what they do. Everybody calls themselves by the first name, even including the head of the lab. And you're saying, oh, because you're coming from somewhere they should. No. So all these things help in our learning, whether we are in school or, you know, elsewhere. So, I put this because, we are looking at lifelong learning and looking at our lives, being a student of our life. So I put the circle of continuous improvement. So I've mentioned some things. What is your learning style? Know these. And so how do you know? You observe yourself, reflect, and journal. So, in some cases, journaling can come before reflecting. If you're trying to know, how your energy circle fluctuates, you might want to be putting it down, maybe part-time, maybe every 4 hours, or, whatever. You want to journal it and then look at it and see what works better. And then when you can adjust. And when you adjust, you observe again. So it's a continuous uh thing. You observe, you reflect, you adjust, you observe again what you have adjusted, and then see how it works for you. So this is more like collecting data on yourself, right? So it's your practical, it's a practical class of life. And then next is understanding your journey. You need to understand your journey, the journey you're on. So track your growth. That's part of what I said about observing, what are notice some of the major turning points in your life. What are those things that keep occurring? You need to identify that and then accept detours. Life is not that straight road. There would be delays, some setbacks. There's some things you will need to restart. So instead of asking why me, ask what can this teach me, right? What can this teach me? Understand and learn your journey. And then please own your journey. Own your journey. So when I say own your journey, accept the journey you're on, right? Don't compare yourself. Don't be in a state of self-denial. It's to keep you Stop comparing yourself with others. In this age now, we overestimate what we don't have, and then we underestimate what we have. And that is not, good enough. And then in this social media age, we, of course, you see somebody on social media, you're like, this person is this and that, this and that. You now compare to yourself and start feeling this. You say, this person has jackpot. She's now in the UK, and she's doing very well, looking nice. She has made it. She's enjoying. Who told you the person is enjoying life? Because of one nice picture. For that one nice picture, there were 29 others. Probably the person took 30 pictures and put the best one, which you saw. You didn't see the 29 that were not nice. So let's stop comparing. Let's stop comparing. It's not, always what seems to be like. And then give yourself some credit, please. Let's give ourselves some credit. Like we said, this is a journey. When you set out to say, okay, this is what I want to do, and you are able to achieve it, celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself. Give yourself some credit. There was, some years ago, I was working on a grant, right? And I did it for like a whole year, and I submitted. And I'm like, please, I need to celebrate myself. I went on a vacation. I did. Guess what? When the result of the grants came out, I didn't get it though. But of course, I resubmitted and then I got it. But at least that my hard work, I first celebrated myself first. So imagine I didn't celebrate myself and then I now saw the results. It was all good. I was still be like, So celebrate yourself. If you've said you're on a journey, you've said, I want to do this thing, and you're able to do it. You did it. You hit a milestone. Celebrate yourself. What do you like doing? That you can afford. Do it. So, lastly, I'd like to read this quote. Life is a school. You don't stop learning until you take your last breath. So, I believe you all know the quotes. When you stop learning, you start dying. So, it's a school. We don't stop learning. We're on this journey till when the master calls. So let's keep learning. And also, the illiterate of the 21st century is not someone that cannot read and write. You say so, this person is a illiterate, person cannot read, cannot. No, in this 21st century, if you can't learn, unlearn, and relearn, if you can't unlearn some things and then relearn, you will just be, sidetracked. You will be sidetracked. I remember the story of a professor in the university where I studied. Uh, when this computer thing came up, the man said, "Oh, I'm not going to use a computer. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to." The man insisted, though, that I'm not going to use. And of course, the federal university cannot send him away. They just edged him out. They just put him on one side. Everybody was doing their own thing. He just saw that it was no longer relevant. They were not involving him in things. They were not. They just, put him, whether he now went on to learn or relearn. And then this is, of course, we are in a time of artificial intelligence, right? Of course, at the beginning, too, I was skeptical, and I told myself, my students are using this thing. If I don't use it, then how am I supposed to keep up and, be able to probably mentor them properly and things like that? So you have to be able to unlearn and then relearn things as life keeps changing. And then, of course, in this school of life, you don't get diplomas. There's no certificates. You only get lessons that you can use in the next stage of your life, lessons that you can use to mentor others, lessons that you can pass on generations. So, there's no certificate at the end of the day, but you're going to get lessons. So the call to action today is, what class, of your life are you enrolling in next? We've talked about self-awareness. We've talked about discovering and owning your journey. So what's the next thing? What area of your life do you want to, progress and learn? Write it down, commit to it, and get on to work. And of course, when you achieve it, remember to celebrate yourself. Thank you very much for listening to me, and thank you for the opportunity.
Wow, 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 wow. Guys, I don't know if you guys have been blessed by this session, but if you've been blessed, we want to see value in that chat box. Please just keep dropping that value. If you've gotten value, the least you can do is to drop that value in that chat box right now and just say thank you. I want to hear your light bulb moment. I want to hear all the things you're taking away. Like, if you have been blessed, honestly, this was a full meal. I told you guys, these people are not here to joke. Oh, hey, thank you so much, Dr. Mrs. Rotimi, Oluwakemi Rotimi, a mentor par excellence. Like, you did not drop the ball. You shattered tables. You broke them. They said the tables don't have feet anymore. Thank you so much. This was really deep. This was everything. I'm sure that everybody, regardless of the level or the state or the season of life you're in, you must have taken one or two things away. I don't know. My notebook is just, it's full. I just kept writing. I'm like, oh my goodness, value overload. Thank you so much, Dr. and Mrs. Rotimi, for sharing with us. And guys, please keep putting your questions in the chat box. She's still going to continue with us on the panel session, which we're going to be moving into just shortly.